Welcome, friends, to episode 292 of Color Magic Gaming Podcast, where we talk about all types of issues that affect gamers at and away from their gaming tables and computers. I am your host, PowrDragn, and for 292 episodes, still got my main man, Brian Psionic. How's it going, dude?
Brian Sonic, the head coach at Kennesaw State University, which we'll get into more later.
I guess we're on that NCAA kick again.
Right. It is that time again. And I mean, it'll be time for actual college football in a little over a month, I guess?
Yeah, something like that. Hell, you're already getting to where your NFL training camps are about to start kicking up again.
Crazy that we're to that point already. Feel like we were just doing year in review. Feels like, and now here we are.
Dude, time flies for sure. Speaking of which, we're going to be talking a lot. There's a lot of Magic sets coming down the pipe. We got new previews. We got all kinds of stuff this week with different companies having problems. Like it's a lot to talk about. But before we get into it, don't forget to check out our Patreon over at patreon.com/colormagic. You can get a shout out just like Michael Blanchfield. Thank you so much for being a patron. And we appreciate all of you that are patrons over there. But let's go ahead and just start with the big news. It's unavoidable because pretty much anywhere that talks about games is talking about Magic because we're talking about Edge of Eternities, which we're moving Magic to space. Which, on the one hand, I'm like, okay, Magic in space, whatever. But we'll explore space opera. We'll see if angels or goblins or whatever look different in space. Like, I don't really know. But so far, some of the cards look kind of interesting and kind of good. And I think that's one of the biggest things is that if the cards are playable, people eventually just don't care, right? We've talked about it before. As much as we like to have story and whatever, if you have a good story and the cards are trash, nobody cares. If your story's bad but the cards are great, people still love the set. So make the cards good, right? And so far, there's a mix. Like, there's a lot that are very good, but also people saying like, oh, this set's going to be broken and whatever. And I'm like, guys, we've seen like, 50 cards? Like, let's slow down. Like, we ain't seen the rest of the set yet. And there's going to be a set rotation or a standard rotation. So we're going to lose, 5 or 6 sets. It's going to be a whole thing.
Spaceships could be commanders, which is, we'll see if that's game breaking. And it definitely sounds different. My commander is the USS Enterprise or Magic's equivalent of that.
Yeah, and I'm okay with that. I'm at least willing to see how it plays out because a lot of them don't have any crazy abilities on their own. They have to be like stationed or whatever, so you have to get so many counters on them and that whole thing.
But you'd feel like even if Jace goes to get the spaceship, you feel like the spaceship should win, right? I know Jace is a powerful sorcerer and all, but
hey, you never know. I'm still putting in my ticket for getting Jace to be our big bad in the future. So, you know.
I think they would ever do that because isn't he pretty much the poster boy?
I don't think they would, but
if they do, they'll do a Devil Made Me Do It where he doesn't have to actually answer for any of his actions at the end of it.
I'm just saying, if you want to get people emotionally involved, you want a story that matters, like, make him the big bad, and then threaten to actually for real get rid of him. Oh, you'll have people that you don't get right now that care about the story for sure.
If you make it stick, yeah, but again, if it's like, oh, the devil made me do it, which is what they would end up having to do. It's like when Superman gets possessed. You know he can't kill anybody. He's Superman.
I'm telling you, my ticket is he's gone into his own brain to make himself forget about stuff a few times. So I'm just like, maybe he's caused some brain damage. Maybe he's unlocked some crazy part of himself. Like, easy to write. Like, we have the outlet. It's there if you ever want it. Like, it'd be easy to do. But yeah, I don't know, man. I think when I look at the idea of doing space stuff, I think my first thought was that, especially when Universes Beyond got announced, is like when we get it, it'll probably be Star Wars or Star Trek or something. And we kind of did that with like Doctor Who is pseudo spacey.
That's part of the thing that worries me, or one of the things that worries me about Universes Beyond. Like, okay, it'd be different if this was the first time Magic had touched sci-fi, but you've done Doctor Who. You'll never do it as well as Doctor Who does because Doctor Who will do it every season.
Oh, sure.
You're going to do it this one time, and if this set doesn't sell, we'll never come back to this again. And I assume at some point during the Marvel set, we'll get Guardians of the Galaxy. You'll never do sci-fi as well as Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, sure.
Any Marvel property has. And if it doesn't sell, we're never coming back here.
And I think that's this thing when you do any type of crossovers, right? Is it's never going to be as good as the thing you're doing the crossover with. Like it might be real nice, but that other thing's always going to be the thing. That's why you worked with them in the first place,
Yeah.
right? It's always going to be that way.
Well, I mean, if they would ever, focus more on their own lore, it doesn't have to be that way. Because most of these things, especially, okay, Guardians predate Magic, but the Guardians being popular has really only happened, in the past 10 years.
Yeah, yeah.
So Magic had a 20-year lead to be better than the Guardians with their lore and just didn't take
Yeah,
advantage of it.
but I think the thing is just like I said, it's Magic's always been more about identifying with a color or a deck style or whatever more than the story. Like I can actually go, and I've done this when I've traveled around, go to local stores and ask them about their commander, and they know nothing about it other than what it does. And to be fair, I'm largely guilty too. Like a couple of them could have just made up a story about their commander, and I would have just went all right and walked away, even if it was wrong, because I wouldn't have known about some of them. So
And to be
I
fair, there are people that only engage in the comic and start like, hey, what does Hulk do? He smashes. What's your favorite Hulk storyline?
yeah,
They ain't got one. They just like to watch him smash things. There are
yeah,
people that identify with it at just the base level. Then there's people that like the person you talked about that somebody stopped at the convention and demanded to know who all
yeah,
these dragons were, and
yeah,
they crushed them because
yeah.
they didn't know who they were dealing with.
I think it's one of those things too where in the long run, it's like Magic was always going to have an issue with reach. I think it's not. I don't think it's ever. Obviously, it's not been the gameplay. It's not been R&D. It's not been the art. Right? They have the top people at all those things. It's just they never had a comic book and anime, video game, or whatever that stuck. It was always about the actual product. Right? There was never anything else. So I do believe there is a future where, assuming they actually come out. We're talking
Yeah.
about the animated series or the movies. And we said they don't have to be top tier A list. They just,
Well,
you
at
know,
this point, they kind of do because
I
we
don't
got
think so.
Netflix.
I think if they're D&D movie quality, I think we're all right.
No, because I don't think
But
the D&D movie turned a profit, did it?
no, but I think as far as getting nerds interested and spreading your reach, that's where you need to be. If you don't hit at least that mark, I don't think you
I
can.
think, but does anybody care about D&D that didn't, 2 years ago because of that movie? Would you say?
I think there are some people who do care about it. Like it definitely saw a bump with people after the movie came out. So something happened. It triggered people, even if it's just re-engaging old customers that have lapsed or whatever, right? It still does its job. But we don't have anything like that at all for Magic is the problem. But otherwise, that's the Universe of Beyond is working. So I get why they're trying these different hat sets, as we call them. Now what's it going to look like? We'll see as the set fleshes itself out. Like I said, I think we've seen, I don't know, I can probably go look. It's probably like 60, 70 cards so far. It's not been a lot because we're only on, as we're recording this, it's only day 2 of previews, officially day 2. So there was, well, okay, technically we've seen 100 cards, but a bunch of them are like multiples of the basic lands, different versions of the same cards. So probably in the like 70-ish range of what we've seen. There are a lot of, because some cards have like 4 treatments or whatever, borderless, whatever. But yeah, overall the set does look interesting. I think there's a lot of stuff people are going to play with. Only a few things that look like they would be new commanders or legends for the most part. So I think we're still going to flesh a lot of that out, see if people care. But yeah, I think the biggest thing for this set is just going to be, how many of these cards make an impact in a fresh standard? I think is going to be where this set is measured, right? Because we're going to lose 5, 6 sets, I think, at a standard. So this kind of opens up the door for like, hey, there's a lot of room. There's not going to be any more cut downs or shieldrids or temporary lockdowns or whatever, right? So are things replacing those cards, or do those decks get a boost, or are there brand new fresh decks, or do old cards get played because new cards came out? I think that's really how we're going to measure the set in the
And
end.
slivers possibly, or at least one sliver is
Yes,
back.
to say we have right now. There's at least one sliver card that at least gives us the idea that slivers could exist in, what do they call this area, like Softera or whatever. I think is what the planet or zone or whatever we're in is called. The plane, I guess technically, even though we're in space. I
It's
don't know.
real they
It's
wouldn't
weird.
just do one, because when's the last time they did a sliver card? They wouldn't have anything to work with if they just do one, right?
The last sliver card that was standard legal was a long time ago.
Yeah,
We
so
had some get printed in a Modern Horizon set a couple years back, but that's kind of been it. We haven't had any other since then.
Yeah,
Not
surely
that I
they
remember.
wouldn't, especially if it turns out that they are aliens, which I think is a theory that people have had for a while, that maybe they're going to do some cowboys versus aliens, where we mix Western with, in this case, a more medieval fantasy setting.
Yeah, see, that's an interesting thing about the set too, because I think in the Tempest storyline, we were kind of told that they were a science experiment of some kind. But we never was like, well, where did they originate? Or did they take one and then they spliced it and now we had the overrun of slivers or whatever? We never really got a clear difference, just like we know they existed and the bad guys were like cultivating slivers or whatever. So it's always like, they're kind of weird. They don't look like anything. They don't really look like they belong. It's like, what if they're aliens? And like, whatever. Maybe they are now. But that does raise another question of Kavu, the creature type that we hadn't seen in a while. There's been a couple of those previewed as well. So were Kavu aliens at some point and landed on some plane somewhere? Because, like, technically in Magic, by literal definition, everything's an alien because they're all from different planes and they all show up wherever. But in this case, we're talking about space aliens, right? Like, are they extraterrestrial, otherworldly, whatever? And ended up on a Magic plane somewhere. So, like, I don't know. Who knows? We may end up with more questions and answers, but we'll see as more of the cards get previewed. But yeah, I don't know. Edge of Eternities, weird set, but so far it looks interesting at least, and we'll be playing with the cards. So there's that. Like, we'll see how we feel about it in another week once we've seen more cards previewed. But yeah, let's hop into the soapbox here because I do have a gripe with a particular company this week. And for most people, you may not even think about this company if I'm about to mention, but it's Bandai, actually. And if you know Bandai, it's likely because you buy some type of anime related products. Bandai gets a lot of licenses for action figures, video games, card games, it's all kinds. Their name's on a bunch of stuff. But in this particular case, there's a game that was supposed to come out. I don't remember if it's launching this week or next week, but sometime soon. And it's a Gundam trading card game, which immediately when it was first showed off, every retailer I spoke to was excited about it. Some were literally planning on making it a tentpole product in their store. Like they were going to build all the organized play for it. Like everybody's excited about it. Looked really cool. Checked all the boxes you wanted it to for a card game, for the look, for meeting the needs of that audience. And then over the last couple of weeks, turns out a bunch of people are being told they're not even going to get product. Some that are getting allocated down to 15 or 20% of what they were going to order. Some are afraid to even run organized play because they're not even going to have product to give away for prizes. And they don't even know when a restock's going to happen. And we've talked about it on this show before. There's a couple of big issues when you have a new product. The first is don't try to come out the gate with some super competitive top line, pro tour, blah, blah, whatever, because it never makes it to the top. It's just one of those things, even with big licenses. The other is you got to have a really big license to get people to hang on with interest if you don't have product available. Right. And the most recent example that we saw was with Lorcana, actually. They had a hard time fulfilling allocations up for the first, I think it was like 6 months. And then eventually they started getting stuff out. And by the third set, everything was normal. But you see how much of the fanfare has gone away from that game. And it's got a Disney backing. Hell, the Star Wars trading card game was like that for a minute. Right. They had some allocation issues. They also didn't have a new set coming but once every 5 or 6 months, I think. So that was also an issue. And now we have another product again. And it sucks for me being a former retailer, watching other retailers struggle of like, we had this whole plan. We cleared our calendar. We were going to do this thing. And now they're just like, yeah, I guess we'll sell the like 10 boxes we're getting and call it a day. And all the excitement's gone on the product. And even in the different discussion groups I'm following, they're saying like, yeah, they expect this to just be dead within probably less than a year. They're saying probably 9 months if they
Wow.
can't figure this out because nobody's
Yeah,
going
you
to
got to
have
be
it.
able to get the
Nobody's going to push
cards.
it. What's that?
You got to be able to get the cards,
Yeah. And you can't do a singles market if nobody really has anything to buy because who's buying them, right? Like if people aren't building decks, they're just waiting for hell. Some people are even getting product. There's no starters to be had. So they can't even quickly just teach people how to play. So that's another problem. And it's just like, yeah. And what's crazy about this for me is that Bandai has a long history with retailers, right? This isn't new. Hell, they are the same company that makes the Dragon Ball, the most recent one, Dragon Ball Super or whatever. And it's like,
and the next one that'll be out in 5 or 6 months because
yeah,
Dragon Ball Z
exactly.
games be like
So
the
like,
TV show. They just hear the new saga every couple of years.
but the thing is, they know what they can sell. They know the stores that do organized play and sell a lot of trading card games. Like they have contacts for a bunch of. If they just even wanted to reach people and say, "Hey, what's your initial vibe on this thing after seeing it at the Gamma Trade Show or whatever?" You could have upped your production, whatever. Right? There's a bunch of things they could have done, and it sucks that this was unavoidable. It sucks for Gundam fans. It sucks for the retailers, and I expect we probably won't be talking about this game in a year, which is sad.
Other than to be like cautionary tale of, hey,
Yeah,
make
it
sure you can get
sucks.
product before you launch a game.
The other thing too, one of the other things is your game has to look like it's worth something. Like we were talking last week, there's a game, and I wish I remember the name of it, but they had sent me a thing of like, hey, do you want to try out our game and make some content for it? And it's based on an image property that neither of us had heard of, which
Right.
was
Between the two of us,
crazy.
we got probably 60 plus years of comic book and comic book store experience.
And it was like I was gonna say a D list, but it might be an E list
Yeah,
character
if I
that it
hadn't
was
heard
based on.
about it, it's probably
Yeah. Which is crazy. And then I looked at the cards and I'm like, these look like a bad version of the DC deck building game. And that came out like, hell, at this point, what, 18 years ago or something?
right.
Like, you didn't, like, why? I'm like, if I show this on camera, it looks like a generic game. It looks like it was just, you know, it's not AI art, but it looks like that level of AI art and just generic. Like, here's a bar with the name and here's a logo in the corner, and that's the card, right? Like, it's, and again, I'm not going to put the official name out to disparage anybody or whatever, but it's like you got to put the effort out. Like we've talked about it before. When it comes to card games, it starts at Magic, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh. Period. Whether people like it or not, you go to any game store that does card games, they're carrying one of those three, if not two of those three at a minimum. Usually, that's where it starts. Then everybody else gets to pick their spot at 3, 4, 5, 6, and that's going to rotate heavily throughout the year depending on the store. If you want to get into that 3, 4, 5 slot, you got to really push because people are dedicated to the original, the three OGs, if you want to call them that at this point. They're all
Right.
20 plus years old, right? It's tough. It's
And
tough.
to play those, it's going to take your time, your money, a lot of resources. A lot of people, especially if you're playing it competitively, you probably can't afford to play more than one or two of those games. You got no room to get into anything new unless it's going to be worth your while.
Oh yeah, and that's kind of the problem here with the Gundam game, right? Is that anybody who's aware is going to look at that and just go, well, do I want to drop $100 into this, getting a couple of packs, maybe a deck, whatever, to know that I may not be playing this in 6 months, right? Whereas if you go look at, I can go get a Pokemon product, a Magic Commander deck, whatever, and that's still going to be useful in a year. Hell, in some cases, you can sell it for more than you bought it for in a year.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, that's just not a thing when you're trying out these other products. So, like, you can't make these mistakes. Like, it's just, you're just killing yourself before you even get rolling. But anyway, let's talk about some other fun, more interesting things and stuff that we learned this week because I think it's going to be a little bit surprising and a little bit disappointing. So, what you got, Brian?
Speaking of stuff launching that I hope isn't dead already, as we talked about here, Warner Brothers has been in bad shape trying to figure out what to do on their movie and their gaming front. But specifically on gaming, they figured after losing a bunch of money on stuff like Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, and whatnot, they're going to focus on 4 core properties: Harry Potter, because of course they are; Mortal Kombat, because yeah, obviously Mortal Kombat's fighting one of the fighting OGs; DC Comics, obviously, and Game of Thrones. All those make perfect sense.
Yeah, I'm with it.
The latest DC project is DC Worlds Collide. I'm talking about if you don't read video game sites like to the bottom of the page, you probably have heard nothing about this. But yes, it's a DC mobile RPG. With a lot of gotcha mechanics. There's 70 characters to unlock. It sounds fun. There are 12 different modes that you can play, including, there's a lot of PvP, PvE. There's some kind of puzzle roguelike mode. It sounds like you put a lot of work into this, but then they told almost no one. And apparently there's a tie-in to the Superman movie that by the time you're seeing this, so you'll be able to see it in a lot of cities. How you put out a DC game tied to your Superman movie that launches this week. And I don't see, especially somebody that consumes comic book and gaming content all the time, literally, I only see it on gaming sites. What are y'all doing over there, Warner? Help me help you. This sounds like a fun game. I'm writing about it. I'm trying to promote it for you, but I just don't understand all the different Warner. How about I seeing ads on all the other Warner stuff that's out here? I see a Superman trailer everywhere because, of course, it's Superman. We know how much they want this to succeed, but you've tied the Superman to this game, and we're seeing nothing.
Yeah, that's a little crazy to me. I'm totally with you on that. That doesn't make any sense. Like this almost should have been another soapbox because honestly, it would cost them very little to go to I'm just pick a number, top 20, top 40, top 50, like YouTubers and streamers that play mobile games or have their channels based around comic book stuff or whatever, right? Go to each of them, drop them $1,000, whatever, and just say, "Hey, would you be cool playing this game on your channel, on your YouTube stuff, on your streams, whatever, for like 2 hours or 3 hours, like a
Here's some
small ask,
codes
right?"
people can unlock
Yeah,
characters. The whole
absolutely. Here's some free points in the game, whatever, right? That's all you have to do. You would easily reach hundreds of thousands, if not a million plus people who didn't know about it before. Like that's very low. Like that says to me that whoever's handling the marketing at Warner Brothers is either just inept, not great at their job, or really out of touch with what marketing works or what people are consuming today. Because
or they
it's
just didn't give
possible.
them the budget. Like maybe here's all these things we want you to do. You got 350.
I mean, maybe, but that's so low. When I'm talking about maybe going out and taking 20 to 50K, right? Like that's nothing on a Warner Brothers budget. I mean, especially because I guarantee you, they spent easily as many times I've seen Superman ads. They had to have spent some good 10, 15 million in just Superman promotion because I've seen those ads everywhere. Like
Right.
every nerd
Everywhere.
website, there's pop-ups, there's banners. I've seen commercials during wrestling. I've
Yes.
seen billboards. I mean, like they spent some money promoting Superman. And look, practically every movie that anybody has seen has had
Right.
a Superman ad on the front for the last hell, probably 6 months, right? So you couldn't take even just a little bit, like it's just a smidge, a little like 0.1% of what you spent on Superman and go put that out on something else to promote one of your other projects.
Especially since you're using this game, because apparently they're going to have, obviously, you got your comic book version of Superman at launch, but they're going to have a separate, I guess, DCU Superman that will appear in the game, I believe, this week. And then later this summer, we'll get, I think, Guy Gardner from the movie, a couple of characters,
Okay.
specifically their DCU version. So where's the promotion?
See, that makes it even stranger because if there was foresight put into the project, which it sounds like there wasn't, but if there was, you can use that type of game as a cross promotion when you have the next movie, right? Whether it's a Justice League movie or a Teen Titans movie or whatever it is you decide to do, you make those characters available or some new version of that character available in the game as a reminder of like, oh yeah, in conjunction with our release of this movie, you can now get this character or whatever. Easy peasy, and you get to make money off of it. Like I don't know. I don't get it, man. I just so many Warner Brothers decisions in the last like 3 years just have me scratching my head constantly.
Right.
I don't get it. Anyway, on another disappointing note, it's Amazon Prime deal days, which, whatever. It's Amazon. We feel how we do about them one way or the other. But I decided to deep dive and say, let's see what type of magic deals we can get on Prime days. So I went and I'm double checking even now while I'm saying this. I typed in Magic the Gathering. I clicked the little thing that said Prime Day deals. And honestly, except for a couple of t-shirts, I don't know if anything else I saw was what I would call an officially licensed product. Like, there's a lot of questionably licensed product, to put it nicely. But yeah, no, I will say some of it is like generic third party top loaders or whatever, penny sleeves, dice, right? And that's cool. If you need some of those, there's deals to be had. Nothing wrong with that at all. Save yourself 5, 6, $7. If you're getting one of the big storage boxes, maybe save yourself like 15, $20. Like, there's reasonable deals. Nothing wrong with them. But anything else that has an official like Magic logo or whatever outside of the shirts, I don't think any of those are actual things, which is kind of crazy. Other than that, like I said, if you just want a 9-pocket binder, there's some options. Some of them may not be like the highest quality, but you can get one for like $7.
Optimus
So,
Prime died so we could have these deals. We got to do better.
yeah, exactly. It's such a weird thing to look around on Prime days and just be like, yeah, let me see if I can get something for this nerd hobby I'm into. And it's like, ooh, there's a lot of like bootleg stuff, probably, really. But yeah, it's interesting. I'm sure a few of them get reported and some will get taken down, but a lot of them just kind of ride under the radar for a long time, and people just come along and buy them. And like I said, there's other stuff. If you just want like fancy deck boxes and things, those are all fine. Like they're companies you probably haven't heard of, but they're going to be probably at least midline quality anyway. Because some things we've already perfected how to make a deck box with a magnetic latch, right? If you see one of those, they're probably all going to be of a minimum quality level. So you can probably buy those safely and whatever. But yeah, just thought it was interesting. There's no real Magic deals to be had for Prime days. Because I was looking, okay, let me look up Magic the Gathering Commander and see if there's old Commander decks that maybe they just want to clear out of inventory or whatever. Nah, they're good. There's none listed. And doesn't surprise me totally the more I thought about it, because I think there is a thing of like Amazon just getting all this Magic product and putting it out there, whatever. But they haven't been selling Magic product at a discount. Like a lot of it's been basically retail price. Some of it's slightly more than retail price in some cases. So it's not like they're really undercutting things. They're just selling stuff. Like, and if they've already made the money or are making a bunch of money, why would they deep discount it? Right? There's no point.
It's McDonald's at this point. They make money because they're Amazon, not because they offer the best deal on things.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And I remember reading a thing one time about their algorithms and such on their pricing, and they're actually designed to not be the lowest price. Like their thing is they don't want to be the most expensive unless it's a rare exclusive thing that only a couple of people have anyway, then they can be near the top. But they want to be like the third or fourth cheapest option a lot of the time. Like cheap enough that you're still going to look at it and probably get it because you trust it's coming directly from Amazon or whatever, but still enough that they can make a solid margin on it if they're able to, right? That's their goal. I don't know if that's still accurate. I read that a couple of years ago, so like who knows what it is now. But
I mean,
that
that
does
makes
make
good
sense.
strategy for a business that's that size. You just need, a slight margin because you're going to do a quintillion transactions.
Exactly. So based on what I'm seeing price wise when I see Magic stuff online, that makes sense. But I've said before, more often than not, it's mostly other retailers undercutting other retailers. I mean, it still is to this day. Or things you think are deals and they're actually scammers. I've seen that a lot with Final Fantasy stuff, and that's a whole thing I could probably do a whole other video on. But yeah, crazy thing. I just
Because they're
figured
making people with better deals. Those other people don't have a whole TV network where they can advertise their deals, and soon NFL football where they can advertise, hey, Prime Day is coming.
yep. But yeah, I just figured, if you're doing some shopping and you're gonna take your time to go look for Magic deals, if there's really none to be had. At least as of the time of us recording, I know stuff comes and goes on Prime Day deals, so things might get added later, whatever. But over the last several hours when I looked, there was nothing. So there is that. But anyway, let's talk about a couple of other topics here. All right, we got to give an update on Ubisoft because, that's part of our lives these days, it seems like. But, they look like, all right, you're struggling. You eventually got your Assassin's Creed out, went pretty well, surprisingly, after everything being pushed back and whatever. Then we're like, oh, there's this buyout, or at least we'll call it a merger because it wasn't a true buyout, I guess, with Tencent. And we knew there was going to be layoffs, but apparently there's still more layoffs on top of everything else. And we're well past that point now. So I don't even know why it's happening, but that's a thing. So
I mean, the company's been hemorrhaging money for a while. Oh, and by the way, they're incredible sexual assault. At this point, when we say allegations, like people have been convicted inside Ubisoft of sexual assault, but they're not doing any jail time, I guess, because hey, they probably paid the right people the right amount of money. So yeah, this company has been rotten from inside for a long time, and well, lo and behold, who knew sexual assault was bad for business? Everybody except Ubisoft did, apparently.
Hell, Ubisoft wasn't paying attention when all that stuff happened with Riot and with Blizzard and whatever over the last 5-6 years. It's like, I'll be honest, if I was any other company of their size or even remote, I'd have been going through trying to clean house, get rid of people before stuff came to light. Because you'd known once we started going after folks, you knew other stories were going to turn up.
Problem being when the people you need to get rid of are the executives. How do you get rid of them?
I don't know. You get some golden parachutes, as they say. like got to save face for the company and save money on stock prices. I don't know, but yeah, it's man, Ubisoft's another one of those companies. We probably mentioned them 5 or 6 times. It feels like in the last year, and it's rarely anything good. I mean, this is just where we are, I guess, with them. And it sucks. We said before, we like to support the OGs, right? We're pulling for the companies that have made some of our favorite products over the years, been our favorite places to shop. And it sucks when you see this happening. So I don't know. I mean, maybe we shouldn't even be bothered by it at this point, Brian. Maybe this is expected. I mean, like, sadly.
Obviously, you want them to get right. You hate to see anybody lose their job, especially because in so many cases it is not. As we said, the executives are the ones that need to go. They're never the ones that get to go. It's always the people on the bottom of the totem pole that get chopped first. And
That's probably the most depressing thing is that, each month they're letting more and more people go when it's really not been a series of their decisions that have affected the majority of this stuff, right? They've come in, done their job, done what's asked of them, and still end up losing a job. Like that, that's just always rough. Now, here's some interesting positive news. We talked a little bit about a game called Blueprints, which was, involved a lot of people in the Magic community and whatever that to its development. And that was really cool. And became kind of I don't want to say a cult classic because it actually just got general popularity, among video gamers, like really highly spoken about, highly rated. And then
probably going to be in the game of the year conversation, I would think.
Yeah, probably. I would not be surprised if it gets nominated. But I came across this article that surprised me because it said basically Blueprints turned into an esport. And I was like,
right?
the hell?
How
Yeah,
sweet.
exactly. Yeah, because I'm like, this is a first person game. How is,
A
wait a
puzzle
minute.
game, essentially.
Yeah, but this is one of the more creative ways I've seen to handle a game like this. So basically, each participant got the equivalent of what we're going to call a bingo card. It's kind of what it is. But it's a map of the building, right? And then you have different objectives just kind of all over it, and you have to make a path that gets you out. But each of those objectives are different, like a bingo card, right? But it might be go find this exit, open the west entrance, find this item, battle this person, do this thing, right? So you get to pick and choose your path out. And you might do it based on, okay, what's the first couple of activities I run into? Because Blueprints randomizes things or whatever. So like, that might be part of it.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
It might also be that you're better at certain tasks. So you're looking for certain things to do. Or in a way, it also kind of combines speed running, right? If you could do certain things faster, you're like, okay, well, let me go do these, or at least try to find these first, over other things. And each player had 90 minutes. So that was the round, basically an hour and a half to either complete a path or get as far down the path over everybody else. And it was actually kind of a cool idea. Apparently, it went over well. People were excited about it. It was part of an event. If I believe what I read here is that they were raising money for Doctors Without Borders, which awesome, great cause. And they raised a good chunk of money, and people really enjoyed watching the competition. So maybe we'll see more of stuff like this. So I don't know. What do you think about this, dude? Because I've never thought about the idea of how do we turn
Yeah,
first person games into
puzzle game.
esports.
Although there's a Tetris Battle Royal now, so I'm always amazed at the stuff that nerds come up with that you just think there's no way to do it that way, and then somebody figures out, oh wait, what if we did? I think there's an F-Zero Battle Royal. It's amazing the things people come up with.
Yeah, I'm super impressed by it. Like, And I think it gives longevity to the game as well, right?
Definitely.
Because there's a lot of games that, okay, they're hot for like a year, then they fall off. But if this is in the rotation of tournaments at conventions, maybe, or whatever,
Mhm.
people are still going to pick it up. It makes it to where the developers eventually want to make expansions, make sequels. So this is kind of cool to see. I didn't think the game, like, I understood the game was good and the mechanics as to why it was good, but I didn't think it would have this level of interest to where we're like, okay, well, how do we do a competitive version of this? Right? Like now that opens up a whole other set of doors I never even considered for a game like that. So kudos to them. That gets a golf clap.
Right.
Like creative all around for everybody. Now you did also point out to me that there's another sweet thing Dead by Daylight's doing because they seem to do a lot of cool, fun crossovers.
Yeah, well, remember how when we heard Walking Dead's Cut to Magic, we were all WTF because we didn't know that the landscape was going to change. There'd be some kind of crossover 5 or 6 times a year. Walking Dead's crossing over Dead by Daylight, which this is actually perfect. This makes sense because Dead by Daylight is a horror game. Walking Dead is, a essentially horror comic slash TV show. So we're gonna get Rick Grimes, Michonne, and Daryl Dixon in Dead by Daylight, and people are hyped about this because it's a perfect thematic fit. At this point, all your horror characters are going to belong to Dead by Daylight at some point. If you ever want to see if Rick Voorhees or Rick Voorhees, if Rick Grimes could outrun Freddy Krueger or Michael Myers, here you go.
I'm kind of into it. I mean, now I will say it's a little bit late, as far as the peak popularity of Walking Dead, but when you look at Dead by Daylight, they've taken a lot of things that are classics or things that,
Exactly.
came out 10, 15 years ago or whatever, and they've done crossovers and brought them in the game, and the fans love it. I mean, Dead by Daylight's another one of those games where if you'd have asked me, well, what would you give the popularity or how long this game's going, I would have said probably like, I don't know, 3, 4 years. Like they found a way to keep extending the popularity of
The other
that
thing
game.
that helps is they basically are it in the asymmetrical horror genre. There are other games, but I mean, it's like Dead by Daylight's up here, everything else is way down here. So when you create essentially your own genre and then you stay at the top of it, it's like what Magic did. First trading card games, it's pretty much barring something crazy happening, will always be, if not on top, near the top because it's Magic, and then to some, like we said, the top three: Magic, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, for the most part, don't change. And Dead by Daylight, there isn't even really a number two to speak of that's even close. Lots of people
Yeah,
have tried.
I was just thinking about that, right? I've seen some that have been decent or some that I would call like quality number twos, but the popularity still isn't close, and
Texas Chainsaw Massacre came, went, because it really only had Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Dead by
yeah.
Daylight got Leatherface and every other horror killer or survivor you wanted to play with or play against.
And see, and that's the other benefit of crossovers. As much as, and we've talked about it before, where people don't necessarily like their favorite games or products crossing over, you make it easier for more and more people to pick up that product because it already has something that you like from something else that's related or whatever, right? And that's kind of the deal, like you're saying with Dead by Daylight. Like if you want like any genre of horror, they might have a thing for you, right? If
Yeah.
you like any big horror movie series, there's
It's
a
probably
chance your
it's on
character's
the
in
way.
there. Yeah,
They just
whether it's the heroes or the villains.
they just did a Spring Trap and Five Nights at Freddy's, obviously the most anticipated crossover in DVD history, and they got their highest concurrent player count ever, and they're approaching the 9-year mark. So for something to be around 9 years and not sequels, we're still on the Dead by Daylight number one.
Yeah.
9 years later, people are still playing it. That's at this point unheard of.
Yeah, and I would say realistically, I of the other games in that genre, I may have only even seen one new one that even looked interesting. Like it's not an easy genre to break into by any stretch. So it makes sense that they're just staying on top. So credit to them. They found a way to rope in their audience, keep building on it. And again, taking something like Walking Dead that, again, while the peak may have been several years ago, people still talk about it. People still know what it is.
Yeah,
People
there's still
identify those
52 Walking
characters.
Dead TV shows. If Walking Dead is on and Dead by Daylight is still on, they got to work together. There's no
Yeah.
reason for them not to.
I think the toughest thing for them might be, because we talked a little bit off the air about what do the negotiations look like for some of these licenses. Because as far
Yeah.
as I know, because I don't play it regularly, I do watch some friends play from time to time. I haven't seen a character be removed from the game.
Actually, Pinhead just got taken out because they
Okay,
lost that
Pinhead just got
license.
okay, cool.
Periodically, they lost Stranger Things for a while, but now those characters are back. So some of the licensed ones, there's licensed killers and survivors, and there's ones that are original Dead by Daylight creations, and
Sure.
obviously they don't ever lose those.
Yeah.
Sometimes they have to turn them off, to fix the thing, like with any car or any kind of game where something needs to be buffed, nerfed, what have you, something not working right. But the
Okay.
licensed ones, it depends on, hey, do we still have the license for this?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Because over 9 years, you're not going to have a 9-year license for a lot of those. A lot of them are going to be 2 to 3 years, probably. So kind of cool that they're able to at least rotate through them, or even get them back. It's a lucrative enough deal for everybody that it's still worth it. So that's pretty sweet. But yeah, man, credit to them again. Another golf clap, because keep finding ways over 9 years. That speaks a lot for the people involved.
Right.
But yeah, I think that's it for this week, Brian. So why don't you tell everybody where they can find you when you're not making the show?
All right. You can read all my writings over at App Trigger, and we see Brian Sonic is the YouTube channel and Twitter and Instagram handles. I think that's everything I got going right now.
And you can find me everywhere at PowrDragn, PowrDragn. And there is a bunch of stuff coming for Edge of Eternities because we're doing previews. I've got some ambassador stuff coming. I've got a preview card. Like, I'm going to be wore out on this set before it even launches. So come follow me and make it worth it for me. But otherwise, wherever you're watching or listening, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Please remember to take care of yourselves and your family. Remember to be awesome. And most importantly, be awesome to each other.